Things first, can you guys tell that I am ready for Christmas? I'm wearing shorts, but I have on my humongous candy cane sweater, so I am ready for Christmas. My first Christmas present actually came a few months ago when an author by the name of Dr. Bella Ellwood-Clayton reached out to me on TikTok and was like, hey, I wrote my very first novel. It's called Weekend Friends. Would you be interested in reading it? I'll send you a copy and then you can do some videos and review it. And I was like, is this a joke? I was like, an author is actually reaching out to me on TikTok. But obviously, I responded. We have stayed in touch. She is just the sweetest person. And she so kindly wanted to do a video with me after I begged her. We just had the best time. So let me tell you a little bit about the book. Weekend Friends actually came out on November 7th. So it's only about a month and a half old. Brand new novel. It is like a twisty women's fiction. It is about a widowed mom named Rebecca. And she moves her and her like 11, 12-year-old daughter from Alaska down to Boca Raton, Florida. When Bella reached out to me, she did not know where I lived. Now, she lives in Australia. I live pretty close to Boca. I live 20 miles north of Boca. And so as I'm reading this book, I'm like, this is crazy. Like some of the places that she talks about in the book, I had like been to the week before, like a public park and stuff. And one of the shops is just really close to my house. So it was so exciting, and I didn't tell her that until we talked on the phone, so you'll see that here in a few minutes. This story is about Rebecca and her daughter Willow, and they both are at this new town. They move across from Alaska down to Florida, and they both try and get in with the it crowd, and they learn that everybody has problems, everybody has secrets. It's a lot of twisty drama. My favorite thing about this book is that Bella takes a lot of serious subjects like suicide and depression and bullying, and she forms them into this really beautiful novel, and I think brings awareness to a lot of issues that like parents may not see in their tween girls or just tween kids in general, given I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to that. So this book is written in dual POV. You get to see it from Willow's perspective, that's the daughter, and her mom's, and it's just so much fun seeing this story through the eyes of a 12-year-old, because you get to see her and her little friends in middle school, and then you get to see how she sees her mom and her mom's relationships and her mom's drama. It was beautifully written. I told Bella on the phone, I was like, if you wouldn't have told me, I would have never known that this was your first novel. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and it was just really complex. She covered a lot, and it did feel like a long book to me, but in a good way. Like all the details were needed. All of the different storylines were needed. If you are looking for a brand new twisty women's drama and you like watching the Real Housewives, this is the book for you. So if this sounds like a book that is right up your alley, you can buy it on Amazon, or I believe I downloaded the audiobook on Hoopla, but definitely look into it. This is such a good book. It is so much drama, so much fun, so many great characters. So without further ado, let's get into the interview with Bella. So I am so excited to have Dr. Bella Ellwood-Clayton with me today. Bella recently gave me, I say recently, it was a few months ago, she so kindly reached out to me on TikTok and was like, hey, I wrote this book. Do you want to read it? And I was so excited. I was like, is this a joke that an author is reaching out to me? So first, thank you. It was such a nice surprise.
You're totally welcome. And it was quite fun to go through TikTok and like find readers that seemed like they'd be people that are in the genre that I'm writing in and that are doing book reviews. So it's awesome that we found each other.
Yeah, it was so nice. And I was just so excited. I'm recently like into NetGalley and trying to review more arcs. So it was so nice getting this, and just like luckily we have like stayed in touch. So it was awesome. I was like, Bella, do you want to talk with me a little bit about your book? And you were super nice. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So first, tell me a little bit about yourself, about your day job. I don't know if being an author is your day job, and I'm sure people don't want to hear me talk about you. They want to hear you talk about you. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, this has been the busiest year ever, so I'm doing quite a few jobs at once. And it sounds a little cray-cray, but I have index cards. I'll just show you on my in front of my desk here. And they're like all the different roles that I have. So when I'm working, I like to flip through and actually, as a joke almost, some of them are a bit funny or naughty. Like, so
I love that.
these are my jobs right now. I have my first index card, which is usually up, and it says, soon to be best-selling author, because positive manifestations, right?
Amen.
And then I have, like editor. So I work at a literary agency and I work in fiction there. And I also
Love
have
that.
doctoral editorial, so I edit other people's manuscripts. And then I flip over and I have anthropologist because I'm working at the uni now, helping a friend out in the sociology and anthropology department, doing a bit of
Okay.
research. And then there's like the domestic roles and the mom roles. So there's a lot. I'm just juggling. I've been doing a cool I follow Sarah Cannon on YouTube, and I've been doing a
Yeah.
cool Kanban board where you sort of look at your different roles and figure out goal setting with that, because I need to set lots of goals to achieve like basic
Yeah.
things in those different areas.
Yeah, I love that. You've got a lot on your plate and it seems like
Yeah.
you prioritize it really well. So that might be one of my goals for the new year.
Yeah, I think that's something that kind of excites me with goal setting is, like what is the most important thing that you can possibly do? And for me,
Yeah.
yeah, my kids, they're important, but they're a bit older now. They've just both become teenagers. So I'm
Okay.
really going back to like what makes me really happy, where am I in the zone? And that's, first thing in the morning, coffee and writing, which is just sets the day up so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think how you start your day like plays into your entire day. If I have a bad morning, I have a bad day.
Completely. And I think that's going to
Yeah.
be one of my big goals for, when we're talking about New Year's Eve goals and stuff, is just what's the best way to start my day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just mentally too, getting in the best headspace and, maybe having like some kind of internal grounding sort of scenario as well, because life's a
Yeah.
bit wrong for everyone, I think, these days.
Yeah, it's a little chaotic for everyone.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about mornings, so it is currently morning where you are, it's night where I am. So tell us about where you live.
Right. So I'm in Melbourne. I fell in love with an Australian when I was over
Ooh,
here at Melbourne Uni,
yeah.
doing my PhD when I was, like 30. So that was good timing because I wanted to have children. And yes, so I've just completely incorporated this culture into my life and become a little bit less Canadian and more
Okay.
Australian, especially with my sense of humor, I think, over all these years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've always wanted to come to Australia. And when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, because I thought you were based somewhere around here in the United States based on how well you knew Alaska and South Florida. I was like, she must be from here.
Oh, I love that you say that. And, unfortunately, I'm like an armchair researcher in a sense, but like my new book that I'm working on, it's set in Cape Cod. And,
Ooh.
and I'm really nailing now how to get great research of a place. So I just watch like walking tours,
Oh,
someone just wandering around the streets with their camera, not
yeah.
and I can sit there for half an hour, like totally enthralled with no dialogue, but just, looking at the shops that come by and the view and the
Yeah.
birds and the sounds. And, as a writer, you can really, go anywhere now on YouTube and actually be
Yeah.
literally taking steps through that place.
Oh, that is so cool. And I was kind of wondering, I was like, I think that's one of my questions later, maybe was like, how did you get the ideas for these books? And we'll get into it for this book, but it takes place mainly in South Florida. So I was like, oh my gosh, she must have done some really good research or she's from here. So that's really
Well,
cool.
no, right. And I just cannot wait till I get there one day in real life, because I feel like the place is in my heart now and I've
Yeah.
visualized those scenes and I've had my characters there, and it's like I'm in love with the area. I've never been to Florida. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And so for those of you who don't know, I currently live in South Florida and I actually live about 20 minutes away from where the setting of this book takes place. And I don't think you knew that when you reached out to me.
Did not. That is incredible. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
I was actually reading the book and there's one place I think it's a park in the book. And I had been there like the week before and I was like, this is insane.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into some more book related questions. So this was your very first novel, and what made you get into writing? What made you want to write a novel?
Okay, well, so I was always, I guess my dad was a writer and very artistic.
Okay.
Bit of that in my family. And then I was 12 and I had this like really awful knee accident and I was rushing to the hospital. It was raining and I just had a bit of poetry in my mind. I think maybe that
Really?
extreme sort of put me in a different headspace because I'd never thought in terms of like poetic thoughts really
Oh, wow.
before. But it was just, raindrops on the windowsill, how they would kind of meet and become one. And I
Uh-huh.
thought that was kind of like lovers in a way merging. So this little
Yeah.
that way. And then I went to the hospital, and my mom's friend came in. I was there for ages, actually. It was a pretty bad knee situation.
Wow.
And my friend's mom came in with a book of poetry, and she started reading me poems and then gave me a notebook. And I did not stop writing from that day on ever. And I know that was,
Wow.
so I went back and worked on that poem, and then worked on more poems about hospital life for that stint. So that's how I got into writing. And although Weekend Friends is my first published book, I have written some novels before, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
it's a big journey. So I had written a rom-com before, which hopefully one day
Oh,
will be published, and also sort of a memoir about my time in the Philippines when I was doing my PhD research when I was.
ooh, that's awesome. And so do you hope that those get published one day, or would you like to, or are they kind of to yourself?
Yes, well, I hope the rom-com does, because the main character is super zany and fun, and she just deserves to be out there in the world.
I
But
love
the
that.
memoir maybe should stay stay in the closet. I don't know if people want to know all that about me. It's very
Maybe they
baby.
will. They will when you're a best-selling author.
Okay, right. When that index card comes
Yeah.
true, it's like not just a dream, then maybe, yeah, it's time for the memoir. Yeah.
Yeah. So Weekend Friends already has a over 4-star rating on GoodReads and over 100 reviews. So how does that feel? Because it just, for
So,
those of
yeah.
you who don't know, it was released on November 7th, I believe. So
Mhm.
brand new. It's like a month old. So how you feel about that?
Completely amazing. This book is so close to my heart, and the fact that it's been received so well is amazing. I had a TikTok review yesterday that was actually, I think, maybe the highlight of the whole publishing journey so far, because it was so
Really?
hilarious. Yeah, I wrote down the woman's name. It's
Oh yeah,
Claire,
please let me know.
yeah, Claire at Book Talk, and I think it's at Claire, Claire Healy. And she just
Okay.
did facial reactions. Like, she's like, this book is so chaotic.
I
And she
love
just,
that.
yeah, facial reactions to all the different scenes. And occasionally there's a lot of swearing. She just like swears at the different characters. And she's like, how can you be doing that?
That was
So I,
me the whole book. I was
right?
like,
Yeah,
what is this person doing?
exactly. That expression, like, what are they doing? It just happens so
Oh my
often.
gosh.
So that I really enjoyed that. And she was actually saying about one of the characters, Odell. She's like, Odell, you're such a curse word. And I
Yeah.
loved that someone was as mad at Odell as I was when I was
Yeah.
writing.
That is awesome. And that's, I think, half the fun of reading and being so into books in this day and age is like seeing everyone's reviews, not just written, but on TikTok and on YouTube. Like, I just finished the first book in the ACOTAR series, if you're familiar. And like my favorite part of it was like scrolling through people's reviews, and I was like, these are amazing and hysterical, and it just brings such awareness to like the book reading community.
It really does. It's a
Yeah.
whole new platform and so fun. With my last
Yeah.
book that was published, which wasn't fiction, it was nonfiction, like I don't know,
Mhm.
10 years ago or something. Reviews weren't even a thing almost. Like, so this whole
Exactly.
aspect isn't new. All the social commentary. It's interesting. It's stressful in some ways as the author, but also pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, as before we get into the book, as an editor and a book coach, do you have any advice you would give to people who want to dabble in writing or getting a book published?
Well, I can tend to be sort of two ways about it. I can be brutally honest, which
Hmm.
is my character to be more so that way. Or I can sort of, if it's someone who's really new, I can, I think if it's someone that's just thinking about it in a kind of casual, I might just try to write a short story. That's when you'll hear my optimism, and I'll really encourage it. And, I'll usually say work on a small piece. Like, it's not best to write your whole life story, or,
No.
work on a 3,000 word short story, or like a sort of true to life experience that you want
Yeah.
to talk about, or like an article in a magazine. But for someone who wants to be a novelist, it is probably the most painful, most heartbreaking career you could ever choose. Most
Wow.
broken by it, like psychologically,
Wow.
actually, it's like a car crash. Um,
Hmm.
so, I think I would only advise really dedicating yourself to being a novelist if you can't stop yourself from that, if you're so driven that there's nothing pulling you away, and if you happen to be suffering to be in that state where you must write, then you just complete the project if you can, get to the end, because the process of writing a full book teaches you so much. And then just work on the craft, and you may never get published, and if you do, you probably won't make much money from it. But so you can have smaller goals, but there is sublime bliss, if it is the thing that you're meant to do and you love it and you get better. So and you do get better over time. So it's a painful art. It's
Yeah. It's so
but
beautiful. It's so beautiful to us, but I can imagine how excruciating it can be to the authors. So,
right. Because I guess that's right. If you're looking for like a traditional deal, it's mostly painful. But there, if you're going to be an indie writer and take control over yourself, then I think that's a much happier path and much more achievable. Not really levels of success, because that's just as hard wherever you are, but to get yourself out there. If you're searching for a traditional route and you can't get your book published, it's painful.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good insight. That's really good insight. Do you work with a lot of like bigger authors or a lot of new small authors?
The whole range. So I'm pretty adaptable. Like I spoke to a person recently that just wanted to talk about issues to do with her agent that she was having. So it's sort of more emotional support. For
Okay.
other people, we'll just be purely doing like beats for their romance and trying to get the big overview story. Like, how can we make this
Okay.
the most exciting? Or
Yeah.
working on a memoir about a woman who left a cult, and doing, quite intensive line edits and really going deep into the work with her in revisions.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're all super enjoyable. I really
Yeah.
like doing that. But yeah, different story. Each client's totally different what they need.
Yeah. A big range.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, getting into Weekend Friends, again, this book came out on November 9th, and I was so excited to get a copy of this book. I actually, so you sent it to me with a link, and I downloaded it on my phone, but then I was like at work or in the car when I couldn't read. So, I also downloaded the audiobook version because at that point it had already been published.
Fabulous.
And it was so amazing to listen to. I think I had just as much fun. I typically prefer to read a physical book, but I think I had just as much fun listening to it because I just felt this whole time like I was watching an episode of like Real Housewives. Like
Fabulous.
the characters were so amazing and the plot was so amazing that I was just like, how is this not a movie? How is this not a TV show? Like these are real people.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's so nice to hear. I mean, that's all a writer wants to hear, is that they feel like
Oh,
real people. And they felt like real people to me too. And I was so sad to end the book, because I loved being in Florida. I loved being with those crazy nasty moms,
yes.
and with Brady and Rebecca, and just that world was, it's hard to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, this book is about a widowed mom, and she originally lives up in Alaska, and she relocates her and her 11 or 12-year-old daughter, twin daughter, down to Boca Raton in Florida. And they both kind of get in with the it crowd, the mom and the daughter, but there are a lot of problems in both crowds, in the daughter's crowd, in the mom's crowd. It's a lot going on. And as Bella mentioned, the mom ends up getting with someone named Brady, who is the head of her daughter's school, and it's just chaotic.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is chaotic, but like I said, it was so well written, and you took a bunch of very serious subjects. You covered a lot of hard subjects that are hard to discuss to someone you're even close with, and you wrote them and brought them together beautifully in a novel. So props to you. You did a great job of making these hard subjects, you laid it all out there, and I think you brought a new light to parenting. I'm not a parent yet, but I do think you brought a new light to it, and you wrote about stuff that parents don't typically read about. So I loved
Well,
it.
thank you so much for that. I was really interested in how parents I knew, and myself too, with the tween daughter, how we were all interacting with our kids' drama. And
Mm,
some parents were being totally indifferent, in their, oh, sorry about that.
no, you're fine.
Some parents are being, totally indifferent, and their daughters were at school, asking other daughters to maybe like pinch the fat on their thighs. That was a real incident. And then the mother at the school was totally indifferent. So there's that range. And then you have other parents who are completely vicariously living all this pain of their tween daughter themselves, and there isn't much separation. So that kind of clashing of boundaries between the people we love and when our children suffer, how much we suffer and what to do about it, because bullying at schools is really complicated. It's not necessarily with girls seen, it's not a punch in the face. There's a wonderful book by Rachel Simmons called Odd Girl Out. The hidden aggression of girls. So that's kind of what I was trying to explore is the pain of female friendship, and then from tween girls, but also their moms, so the adults. And you can also see that with Rebecca and her mother-in-law. So it's kind of generational female.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You see all the different points of view. And I think one of my questions later was about Willow and Rebecca's points of view, but I loved seeing both points of view, the daughter and the mom, because like you said, young women, sorry, my dog's knocking at the door, but drama in young females, it's harder to see. And, as women, I feel like we're not as open, especially with our moms sometimes at that age. So it was so fun for me to also see her point of view and how she's also seeing her mom's drama. And you just see what she's going through, but you're also like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed by my mom. And you're seeing like a 12-year-old girl writing about that. So I thought that was really interesting. You kind of covered it, but what exactly inspired you to write this book? Or was it that book you mentioned previously that brought light to this matter for you?
It started off just by being connected to my daughter and the daughters in our community who I was close to, my friends, moms who are also experiencing sort of troubles at school and how to deal with bullying, basically, and exclusion and inclusion, especially with like the mobile phone being something where girls at any point they can pick it up and see where they are in the hierarchy. They can see the party they're not invited to and all their friends laughing. It can seem like something that is just something that they'll get over, but the statistics are showing that, with cyberbullying, it's becoming an increasing problem. I've got a little stat here. According to the American Justice Department, 1 out of every 4 children is a victim of bullying, and at least 2 children are bullied every 7 minutes. And what we're seeing in the States is a sudden number of child suicides related to bullying. And there's been a big article in Canada recently about the rise of young girls increasing their suiciding. And there's a direct relation between that and social media and how well they feel they fit and belong into their social circle. So that was the heart and the sad, real truth of one of the aspects of the book that I wanted to explore. Yes, girls can be mean to each other. There's mean girls, the whole memes about it all. But what can it lead to, and what line is there about when people need to step in and help, especially if they're not talking to us. And before you might be bullied at school, but of course now you can be bullied anytime when you're at home, late at night, if you've got your phone in your room, and parents have a much harder time knowing what in the world is happening.
Exactly. And hopefully moms of tween girls do get their hands on this book and do read it. And hopefully, it brings more light to maybe how you should communicate with your kids. And like I said, I'm not a parent, so I shouldn't even be speaking to this, but that's who I hope reads this book is, young adults and young parents.
Yeah, me too.
But like I said, it was such a good book. You brought light, not necessarily light, but you wrote very beautifully about subjects that aren't covered a lot, like bullying and, suicide in youth. So I think you did a great job writing about it.
Thank you so much. And I have noticed, by and large, the reviews have been really amazing. Some people are like, well, there's, an awful lot of topics, there's social issues that were covered. And I think that's a fair point. And I think maybe in my next project, I might be more streamlined. There might be more power in choosing fewer things. But then again, like, I think if you put a group of, maybe 6 women together and 6 tween girls and their families, you will find in real life
Yes.
so many issues that people are
Mhm.
seeing in troubles. So it may be more realistic than not that they have all of them, but I do think a lesson for me was to be a little bit more streamlined with the things I was trying to tackle, the social issues.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think you did it perfectly. And there were some times when I was reading or listening to the book and I was like, how is this going to tie in? And then it all came together. Like it was a lot of details and a lot of subjects, but then it all came together and everything matched. Everything made sense together. So I think you did a great job.
I love writing twists too. So I just,
Yeah.
I was slowly sort of weaving these things in. And that's something that all writers, I think, get better with at time, over time doing it. So in my new book I'm plotting, for instance, I'm just, really happy with how the plants and the reveals. And so you're
Yeah.
planting all these things as you go along, and then bang, here's, a big twist or a big reveal. So I love doing that.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about your next book after my
Yes.
next questions, but
Mm.
there were a couple of times where I was like reading or listening to this book and I like gasped. I was like, and my
Yay.
husband was like, what are you reading? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Shh, let me see what happens."
That's
So
so
you did. And one thing I really wanted to point out was if you would have never told me that it was your first novel, or if I would have never researched you, I would have never known. I would have thought that you had written multiple stories under multiple genres because there was romance, there was a thriller, there was mystery. It was, I think you did a great job.
Thank you so much. And I have been writing for, I don't know, 25 years, like short stories and poems and journals. So, I kind of wish you're asking about advice for writers. I actually wish much earlier on, I always loved writing. So I kind of, I wish when I was in my 20s or even as a late teenager, I would have started a novel and finished it, because that's the only way to get
Wow.
good and competent with novel writing.
Yeah.
But yes, those gaspy moments, it's so funny because, like, the first big scene with Rebecca and Brady, which in the library of at the school party, like
Yep.
my family had gone away for Easter to my husband's mom's house. And I wrote the scene then. And I don't think the scene would have happened were all my kids around at the time. I needed a
Uh-huh.
little space. So, and I was even surprised that Brady was a character that I didn't know all the time what he was doing.
Yeah.
He led the story a little bit here and there, and I think we're really lucky sometimes as writers when some of our characters take over a little bit, and
Yeah.
he certainly did in that book. And then the other big scene that might be a bit gaspy, there's quite a few gaspy scenes, but the one at the park that there's some
Yes.
references to, and like, with reviews, there's emojis with cry faces about that moment. Um,
Yeah.
that was actually plotted with me with my hairdresser. So I've got this great
Really?
hairdresser, and gosh, she's good at beats and like twists.
Wow.
She's double time working, she's doing my roots, and I'm like, and then what do you think might happen if
And then
this was?
what?
Oh.
You're like taking notes.
I literally am taking notes while she's doing twists in my hair. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that I will say that scene probably I probably did shed a tear during that scene. And it's hard for me to like get emotional about a book. But like I said, I felt like I was watching like Real Housewives. I thought that I knew these women. They were 20 miles south of me. I was like, I've been to the places they've been to. So during that scene, I was like really emotional and it was a big twist. So it was beautifully done. But yeah, it was great. But that does bring me to my next question. The characters of this book were just absolutely amazing. I gave them 5 out of 5 stars.
Wow.
There weren't too many, but there was also like you said, six kind of like 5, 6 families with all these girls.
Mm.
So, but I was never confused as to who was who. I think they all had the best traits. In my head, I was like picturing what actress would play,
Oh,
Odell.
my dream.
I know. I think I wrote that at one point. I was like, this should be a movie. Like it really should. So if you need actor or actress advice, let me know because I have thought of
Yes.
I've thought of all of them. But what I
I'll
wanted
tell
to ask, please do. What I wanted to ask was if you pulled traits from anyone specific in your life and like if one character was based off of your mother-in-law or whoever.
Yeah, they weren't too specifically based on any
Mhm.
characters, but I did really work to try to differentiate them in, like sort of craft writing way. So for Stella, for instance, she's one of the tween girls in the KISS group, the cool group at school.
Mhm.
She always has candy, for instance. So
Yep.
that's like little things that characters can do that are like little traits, or they have catchphrases. And then you want to sort of have different personalities, sort of how they clash and merge with each other. So there's a lot of thinking behind how do we make an ensemble cast, feel individual and memorable. And it's really
Yeah.
hard to do. I'm so thrilled you think I pulled that part off.
Yeah, and I think it also helped seeing it from both perspectives from Bex and Willow, because you're seeing how adults see adults, and then you're also seeing how children see adults. And I just thought that that was super interesting. And I
Yeah.
wondered, I was like, I wonder if she currently has a tween daughter that maybe you were pulling ideas from, and like, how would you
Mm,
say this, or how would you,
yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
do. So my kids are so helpful that way, because sometimes when I read teen scenes to them, they're like, cringe, no, no,
cringe.
say that, no, not that often, but and there were some actually just completely from real life moments in the book about my daughter. So for instance,
Wow.
in the book, Rebecca's daughter Willow is her little yogi and teaches her yoga.
Yes.
And that's what my daughter did. She certainly
Oh.
doesn't do that now, but when we were little, we'd go to the park and she'd be like, all right, we're going through the galaxy and lift your arms. And so I'm so happy that, there's little moments that are captured there that are, just that lovely time in history. And she's now 13, so she's not even like anything to do with Willow anymore in those
Mhm.
years. So we've already moved on, and I don't think I'd write that topic because it's not something really affecting me anymore.
Yeah.
So it's great that at the time that could all come out.
Yeah. Did you have a preference in writing either perspective? Did you like enjoy Rebecca's more or Willow's more?
I keep finding myself in all my projects now wanting to have, a child or a teen and a parent of some kind and having these different point of views. I don't know why I keep going back to that, but I'm really
Mhm.
drawn to what you enjoyed about it, those different like parents' perspectives and the younger person in the house. My agent, however, is like, be careful because it's women's fiction with suspense or whatever. It's an adult book. You don't want your YA feel to take over things.
Yeah.
Um, I just sort of, it's a delicate balance. Um,
Yeah.
the new book that I have, there's a little girl who's not at all connected to the story, but she happens to see sort of clues almost as we go along. So there's a few. So I'm doing it in another sort of fun way. This one's really a young girl. Um, so I do, yeah, I like to weave the different characters, but it can get complicated. And in other projects I've overcomplicated it by having too many point of view characters or timelines. It's a fine art getting it right, I tell
It
you.
is. I can imagine. And it's hard for me as a reader to like ditch a book because I want to give every book a fair chance. And the only times I feel like I ditch a book is when there are like way too many point of views. And then I'm just like, who is this person? Why are they talking? What am I reading?
Yeah.
So, but you also want it to be dynamic, so it's
Mhm.
hard to I can imagine that it's hard to
Yes.
balance both. But I have come to really enjoy like the dual POV. I actually just read another arc, and it's kind of similar to what you were saying. It's between two women and you're seeing their points of view, and at most of the book, one of the girls is 13. I think
Yes.
13, 14. And then at the end you see of course how they're connected. And I'm like, a couple years ago, I would have hated that, but now I just love like the dual point of view and seeing in this story how they're writing the same perspectives. But
Mm-hmm. I really enjoy that too now. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's
yeah,
surprise of how they come together. There's like serotonin in our brains that's like, yes, that's the payoff. Oh, you have to work hard to find it in a way. It's
yes,
invest the time.
yeah. So as I wrap up talking about weekend friends, just wanted to give another couple little shout outs to this book. So, like I said, it came out on November 7th. It is brand new. Bella did a phenomenal job writing this book. Like I said, I would not have known it was your first novel, and I was super excited to read it and listen to it. So, if you if you guys watching do prefer an audiobook, this one will be good. You will feel like you're right there in Florida with these characters. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you again for even reaching out and giving me a copy of this book. I loved it.
I'm so happy to hear that, and it's fun to talk about it and to talk about the characters.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're gossiping about real people in a way.
Yeah.
I like, oh, Odell, what did you do?
It is actually today at work, I downloaded like the audiobook for one of my coworkers and I was like, listen to it, read it so we can talk about these women because
Right.
I was like, she's a mom. I was like, I need your perspective on these characters because I have a lot of comments. But it was so good. So tell me, if you can, tell me a little bit about your new book that you're writing.
Yes, well, I can't say too much
Yeah,
because
don't ruin it.
I've got a really high concept idea, which doesn't happen all that often. So I'm super happy with that. But set in Cape Cod, twisty
Yep.
women's fiction, like Weekend Friends, I'm kind of combining, the interpersonal relationships of a group, a bit of a love story, and running through all that, a mystery.
Awesome. That sounds like just my cup of tea. It sounds like something I will enjoy. And as soon as it has a name and you are looking at a date, you have to let me know because I will definitely be reading it.
Okay, yeah, you'll hopefully review it. I would love to send you an arc when it's ready.
Oh, I can't wait. Have you ever thought, or have you thought about writing like a sequel or a prequel to Weekend Friends?
I would love to. That was because, as I said, I was nostalgic already. When I had to say goodbye to it, I didn't want to leave those characters.
Yeah.
And talking to my agent, she's like, "This is a standalone, in women's fiction with traditional publishing. That's how it works." But you never know. Like, if that director finds us and makes it a movie, then I'm sure they'll need a sequel.
Yeah, well, one perspective and I was not planning on talking about this, but one perspective that I thought about the whole time was Nathaniel, the like wannabe boyfriend, friend. I don't really know what he was, but I was like, this book is a standalone, but I think you could do a spinoff on like Nathaniel and like who I don't
Wow,
know. I
mind
thought about
blown.
him the
Oh,
whole
like,
time.
oh, what could right? You got my mind
I
spinning.
don't know. Just an idea, but I was like, he could get into this and we could then have some like back, it could go back to Rebecca and flashbacks to their time together. But for some reason, I was just like, who is this guy? And I was like, he's up to something. He's up to something.
Oh, I like the way you're thinking. Maybe I need to talk to you about when I'm plotting this new one. So,
Ooh, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Me and my bookish friends were always like, one of us needs to write a book. One of us needs to write a book, but no one knows how, and it would probably not be good. But we have so many horrible, twisty ideas that I'm like, if I could just dump this on someone, maybe they could turn it into a book.
yeah.
Again, thank you so much for reaching out to me and giving me a copy of this book. I had the best time listening to it and reading it. I have already downloaded it on a couple of my friends' devices and I am making them read it. Like I said, I think this is a book for everyone, but specifically young adults and young parents. It is just the perfect book.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome talking to you, and it's just
Yeah.
fun. I've really enjoyed being able to talk Weekend Friends with you today.
Yeah, it has been so fun, and you'll have to let me know as soon as your next book has a date or a name or any sort of details because I'll read it and then maybe we can hop on again and talk about it.
I would love to. We'll consider it a date.
Awesome. It's been such a pleasure. So thank you again for getting on with me.
Thanks.
Bye.